The illusion of control. Are we really in charge of our lives? Hello, everyone. Have you ever had one of those days where it feels like everything is just clicking? You're on top of the world, everything's going your way, and you can't help but think, wow, I've really got things under control. Or maybe you're the kind of person who plans everything down to the last detail, thinking that by doing so, you can keep life's surprises to a minimum. But here's the big question. Are we ever truly in control? Or is it all just one big illusion? Today, we're diving into a concept called the illusion of control, the belief that we have more power over situations than we actually do. It's a psychological trick, and it affects all of us, from the gambler convinced he can beat the odds with a lucky hand to the planner who thinks they can foresee every possible outcome. Spoiler alert, life has a way of laughing at our plans. But why do we believe we're in control, even when we're not? And is it necessarily a bad thing? Let's start by looking at where this illusion comes from. Humans, by nature, crave control. It's hardwired into our brains. Control makes us feel safe and capable, as if we can bend the world to fit our desires. And in many ways, the idea of control is comforting. It helps us make sense of a chaotic world. But here's the twist. Our brains are incredibly skilled at fooling us into thinking we have control, even in situations where we really don't. This tendency is so ingrained that psychologists have a term for it: the illusion of control. One classic example of this is gambling. Think about the lottery, where millions of people buy tickets every week, hoping to hit the jackpot. The odds are astronomical, something like 1 in 300 million for many big lotteries. Yet people still believe they have a chance. Why? Because we love the feeling of being in control, even when logic tells us otherwise. Gamblers often have little rituals, like using lucky numbers or buying tickets from specific locations. None of these things actually affect the outcome, but they make us feel like we have a little bit of power over something that's completely random. And it doesn't stop with the lottery. Think about all those superstitions people have: wearing lucky socks before a big presentation, avoiding walking under ladders, or knocking on wood. These are all small ways we try to exert control over the unknown. It's like our way of saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but if I do this one thing, maybe things will turn out okay. It's comforting, even if it doesn't really make sense. So, why do we fall for the illusion of control? Part of it comes down to something psychologists call cognitive bias, which is a fancy way of saying that our brains like to take shortcuts. We naturally seek patterns and connections, and we often see them even when they're not there. For example, let's say you're playing a game of dice with friends, and you roll a 6 3 times in a row. You might start to think you're on a roll or that you've somehow influenced the dice. But in reality, each roll is independent of the others. The dice don't remember that you rolled a 6, and they certainly don't care. But our brains want to believe that we're in control, so we trick ourselves into seeing a pattern. This illusion of control doesn't just apply to games and superstitions, it affects our everyday lives in surprising ways. Take work, for example. Many of us believe that by working harder and planning meticulously, we can control our career paths and outcomes. And yes, effort and planning are essential, but they're not a guarantee. External factors like the economy, company changes, or even a chance encounter with the right person can have just as much, if not more, impact on our success. Yet we focus on what we can do, thinking that it will give us control over everything else. The truth is, no matter how much we plan or prepare, there will always be factors beyond our control. The same goes for relationships. How often do we think we can make someone like us or believe that we can control how others feel? The reality is, we have no power over other people's emotions or choices. Relationships are influenced by so many factors: personalities, timing, mutual interests, and a dash of good old-fashioned luck. And yet, we often act as if we can mold them exactly how we want. Here's a fun one: traffic. How many times have you hit a red light and muttered something like, "Of course, I'm hitting every single light today"? Or maybe you switch lanes, convinced it'll move faster, only to watch your previous lane speed past. It's as if we think we can influence traffic patterns just by our mood or lane choices. But really, it's random, and we're just one car among thousands. Yet, we love to think we're somehow in control of something as unpredictable as traffic. So, is the illusion of control a bad thing? Not necessarily. In fact, believing we have control can sometimes be a positive force in our lives. When we think we have control, we're more likely to take action, make decisions, and set goals. Imagine a world where everyone accepted that most things were out of their control. Why would anyone even try to improve? Studies show that people who believe they have control over their lives tend to be happier and more resilient. This sense of control can give us the courage to tackle new challenges and stay motivated, even when the odds aren't in our favor. Take athletes, for example. Many of them have strict routines and rituals they follow before every game, not because these routines have any actual impact on the outcome, but because they make the athlete feel in control. This sense of control can boost confidence, which in turn can lead to better performance. It's like a mental hack. If believing in the illusion of control helps you perform better, then maybe it's not so bad after all. Of course, the illusion of control does have its downsides. When we believe we have control over everything, we also tend to blame ourselves when things go wrong, even if it's due to circumstances we couldn't predict or prevent. This can lead to feelings of guilt, stress, and even burnout. For instance, imagine someone who's worked tirelessly on a project, only for it to fail due to factors outside their control like a market crash or a competitor's surprise innovation. If they believe they had total control, they're more likely to feel like it's their fault. But in reality, they did everything right, it was just bad luck. The illusion of control can also make us overconfident, leading us to take risks without fully considering the consequences. Think about stock trading, for example. Some people become overconfident after a few lucky wins, thinking they can predict the market. But markets are influenced by countless variables, many of which are unpredictable. This overconfidence can lead to big losses when the market doesn't go as planned. The belief that we can control outcomes can sometimes blind us to the real risks involved. At the end of the day, the illusion of control is a double-edged sword. It can be empowering, motivating, and even comforting. But it can also lead to stress, guilt, and sometimes poor decisions. So, what can we do about it? One solution is to develop what psychologists call a balanced locus of control. This means recognizing that while we can control some things like our actions, attitudes, and responses, there are many things we simply can't control, like other people's choices, random events, and luck. Another way to combat the illusion of control is to practice mindfulness. By focusing on the present moment, we can let go of the need to control everything around us. Instead of trying to predict or influence the future, we learn to appreciate what's happening right now, in this very moment. Mindfulness reminds us that we don't have to control everything to be okay. Sometimes just letting things unfold naturally can be the most freeing feeling of all. So, the next time you're tempted to think you have everything under control, remember, life has a way of surprising us. Plans will change, luck will play its part, and unexpected things will happen. And that's okay. Embrace the chaos, learn to roll with the punches, and remember that sometimes, the most liberating thing we can do is accept that we don't have all the answers. Thank you for joining me in exploring the illusion of control. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think we have control over our lives, or are we just passengers along for the ride? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this one. Until next time, take care and remember sometimes, a little uncertainty is exactly what we need.